Going fast.
With everybody up.
I need 3 volunteers to read. Who would like to volunteer?
Deborah, I volunteer Deborah.
You volunteer, Deborah?
Rob, volunteer.
And Rob? Okay. And David? Which one do you want? Thanks, Rob. Yep. All right. Well, I thought today would be slim, but I didn't think it was this slim. It is what it is, as the president of mine says. I've passed out some of the handouts for today. If I missed you, they're up here on the front table. Also, handouts for the last 2 weeks are up here. So if you'd like to get one, if you didn't get one earlier. And before we get started, I got a couple of trivia questions. And I put it on the board on the wall for you. And I cannot pronounce this word. Luke, can you pronounce it?
Ganglion neurology. Stenopalatine.
I think that's pretty close.
Sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia. Sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia.
So, this is a medical term for what condition?
Yes.
Do you know?
The spleen is the first one. That's neurons.
Everybody see it?
What do they think? Ganglions are neurons. It's in the nerve impulses, is that right? You don't feel things?
Not listening.
Not be able to read. It is the medical term, ice cream headache. In the South, we call it brain freeze. So instead of brain freeze, you got to say the long 2 words. And most of my Alabama folks are gone today. But on February the 16th, 1968, an event, the world's first, took place in Haleyville, Alabama. What was the event? Very common.
Haley's Comet. Figure a Haleyville.
What was the question?
Bullet Fest.
On February the 16th, 1968, an event, the world's first of its kind, took place in Haleyville, Alabama.
Bullet Fest.
David, you know where Haleyville is? Right up there in your neck of the woods. Northwest of Birmingham, just south of what we call the Tri-Cities. Jimmy, do you know where it is? Nobody knows where Haleyville is? You know where it is? Southwest of
I got friends from there, but I don't know.
You don't know what happened in 1968? The world's first 9/11 call was made. Yeah, really? Yeah. That was their test market, was Haleyville, Alabama.
Wait, no, 911, not 9/11. 9/11.
9/11.
911.
9/11 is now just another year. 68.
Well, 911. But anyway, that's where that was the first test market was for 911. All right, I had a video I was going to show, but the person I got it for is not here, so I'll hold that for another day. So we'll get started as soon as my recorder comes up. The handouts is online today. It was on. I misled you. I did not put it on last night. I was involved with a ball game that I had nothing to do with, but I would go back and forth between it and something else. So it did not get on until 6 o'clock this morning. So I think my batteries are dead. Y'all bear with me. Oh, Todd, you cannot stay out of Mark, can you?
I love Mark. The only book I've read in the Bible, so I.
Oh, is that
We're
it?
glad you're staying.
Those are the original batteries, so I can't complain. All right, what are we studying in this class?
Ruth.
Ruth. And also, Chip, in his class last week with the young folks, talked about Ruth and Naomi. So I thought that was pretty neat. We were kind of all the same thing. Well, so much for recording the audio. But we get the video. You'll get the video.
Would you like a audio recorder?
Nah, I can rip the audio out of the video. So that's no problem. Okay, today we're in Ruth chapter 3. Boaz shows great integrity in this chapter by not having sexual relations with Ruth. He was also concerned with how people would see Ruth if they caught her in this position. Boaz's character is important for this story. And I'll give you a little outline of chapter 3. Ruth listening, obeying, believing, receiving, and waiting. Who would like who drew verses 1 through 6 to read for us? Okay, Rob.
One day, Ruth's mother-in-law, Naomi, said to her, "My daughter, I must find a home for you, where you will be well provided for. Now Boaz, with whose women you have worked, is a relative of ours. Tonight, he will be winnowing barley on the threshing floor. Wash, put on perfume, and get dressed in your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor. But don't let him know you are there until he has finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, note the place where he is lying. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do." "I will do whatever you say," Ruth answered. So she went down to the threshing floor and did everything her mother-in-law told her to do.
Okay, thanks. If you haven't already, be sure to meet Rob and Terry. They're newly Destinites. I guess is that how you say it?
I don't know. You have to tell us.
They don't know.
They don't know. So anyway, they're new to the area. Put it like that. So let's unpack this. Verse 1. What did Naomi say her desire was for Ruth? Find her a home where she would be well provided for. So I guess Naomi was looking out for Ruth's future. She didn't necessarily want her living with her the rest of her life when she was still young and of age to marry and bear children, that sort of thing. Do you think Naomi meant literally to finding a house for her to live in, or figuratively in finding a husband to care for her?
A little both.
C, all of the above.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been either one or both. So, of course, we don't know for sure, but
She would have been happy with these both.
yeah, either one would have been fine, I think. So what was the winnowing and threshing process? Anyone know what winnowing and threshing is?
Use of wind to separate the wheat barley from the chaff,
Okay, how do they do that?
by beating it apart.
Okay,
Sticks,
okay,
big fork sticks,
okay. You know what those big fork sticks were called?
winnowing fork.
There you go. But another word is flail, F-L-A-I-L. Called a flail. Anybody else want to add to that?
Did they throw it up in the air?
Yes, they did. That was part of the step that David left out. After the wheat was broken up, then they would take this winnowing fork and throw the wheat up in the air, and the wind would actually blow it.
Chap away.
I was doing good remembering winnowing fork. I didn't even know the name of it when I started saying that.
Yeah, they let the wind blow it like David said, but that's how they do it. They throw it up in the air after it's been crushed, so the wind would actually do the separating.
Hey, Lynn, another thing about the barley harvest was it was how they identified the beginning of the year. In fact, God had told them that the first new moon after the barley harvest would be the first day of the year.
Oh, okay.
So the new moon, in other words, when it's black, as soon as that first sliver appeared, that was day one of the first year after the barley harvest.
Okay. I knew that the Jewish calendar was different than
Yeah.
what we go by today, but I didn't know exactly how and part of that has to do with Easter too, where Easter falls.
Yeah, that's how they
too, doesn't it?
determine that is because 2 weeks after the first day of Nisan 1 is what it's called. 2 weeks after that is Passover,
Yeah,
which is always a full moon.
but it's not like a set date. It varies between some of these moon cycles and.
No, it's a set date, but it was a Jewish calendar date,
Yeah,
which would be Nisan 14.
okay. Any other comments about the winnowing and threshing process? Afterwards, after this was done, the men would sleep around the grain to protect it from thieves, often with their heads towards the grain and their feet out like spokes of a wheel. We find this example in 1 Samuel 23, is where that comes from. So after they crushed the grain, separated it, kind of put it in the middle of whatever, and then the men would sleep with their heads kind of toward the grain and the feet sticking out. That's how I'm interpreting it. So,
It wasn't just two-legged thieves, it was also four-legged.
yeah, exactly.
True.
So verse 3, what did Naomi tell Ruth to do before going down to the threshing floor?
Wash and perfume yourself.
Yeah. Clean up, put on perfume, and change clothes. So why would this have been important?
To be attractive.
Yeah. And what would,
Because he's not gonna smell good, she will.
That's what I was thinking.
There'll be a huge, the only ones.
Well, she's laying by his feet too. You know.
well, Naomi, this is my comment. Naomi wanted to make Ruth desirable to Boaz since he had only seen her dirty, sweaty, and had worked in the fields. So that was the first impression was she was, she's a hard worker. We knew that. We talked about that last week. But she probably gets hot, sweaty, dirty, all of the above. And Naomi was suggesting she clean up. So that was the point. Do we know the name of the perfume?
Irresistible.
Irresistible.
Frankincense.
Frankincense?
I don't know.
We don't know. This is just a kind of a little joke question. According to J. Vernon McGee, it's called Midnight in Moab.
I was gonna say Gakar no Noir by Moab or something.
Yeah. It probably was some sort of essential oil though, because that's what they used back then.
She also, this is the same thing that brides did.
Yeah, yeah. So what was Ruth to do when she went to where Boaz was sleeping? Verse 4.
Uncover his feet.
Uncover his feet. Remove the cloak or blanket covering his feet so they would be exposed to the cold. And then verse 5, what was Ruth's attitude toward Naomi's instructions?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Do whatever you say.
ready to follow whatever she said. I'll do whatever you say. One person says, or one translation says. We're going to break down that removing the cloak from the feet here in just a minute. So that's I didn't dwell on that right now. Any other comments or questions for verses 1 through 6? Okay, who has 7 through 12? Okay, Deborah.
When Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, he went over to lie down at the far end of the grain pile. Ruth approached quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. In the middle of the night, something startled the man. He turned, and there was a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am your servant Ruth," she said. "Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a guardian redeemer of our family." "The Lord bless you, my daughter," he replied. "This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. All the people of my town know that you are a woman of noble character. Although it is true that I am a guardian redeemer of our family, there is another who is more closely related than I."
Okay. So in the middle of the night was about what time of the night? Do we know?
The darkest point of the night.
Which is what?
Depends on the calendar.
It's no moon.
It's on the moon phase.
Oh, that's true. There was no moon. You're right.
Anywhere from midnight to about 2 or 3 o'clock, generally. So a lot of commentary said midnight, but we don't know for sure. And what was Boaz startled to find?
He's right there.
Yeah, somebody right there beside him. And even though it's not clear what actually woke him up, possibly the cold air,
Cold feet.
or it could have been cold feet, but something got his attention and he woke up. What did uncovering the feet signify? Anybody know Jewish history well enough?
That's a good question.
Request for marriage. What'd you say, David?
That's a good question.
Okay. What, Marie?
What Deborah said,
6?
a request
Oh.
for marriage, what Deborah said, I think. A request for marriage or,
Oh. Request for marriage is what she said.
oh, I thought she did. What did you say, Deborah?
That's what I said. She's agreeing with me.
Yeah.
Are you agreeing?
Yes.
I thought you said, what did she say?
No, she said what Deborah said.
What Deborah said. Ditto.
If I had bad grammar, I would ask her.
Ah.
What Deborah said?
Anybody else have a comment about it? The uncovering of the feet was a ceremonial act that was completely proper. It was culturally acceptable way. It was a culturally acceptable way for a woman to tell a man that she was willing to marry him. Boaz would have understood the custom and they either accepted or rejected the offer. We're going to find out later what his decision was. Lying by his feet was possibly feet to feet or her head to his feet. I've given that to you in your handout. The one on the left is kind of hard to see because it's so dark. But what is happening is the lady is actually sleeping in the crook of the knee of the leg. I'm sorry.
Well, no, it wasn't that, it's just.
Okay. That is one thought that may have happened. She's actually using the crook of his knee as a pillow type of thing. Other one is, and this one's real hard to see, the man is actually going northwest, where the lady is sort of northeast, and the two legs are intertwined or crossed over, that sort of thing. So there's 2 or 3 different ways. This actually could be practiced. I don't know which is right, but I found these 2 examples, and then I found the artwork to go with it. There is absolutely no contextual suggestion of illicit behavior in Ruth. The Greek Septuagint translates lie or lie down 7 times in Ruth 3 with the Greek word koimeo, which means to sleep and is not suggestive of sexual encounter. Translators seem to have no doubt about Ruth's intentions, and neither should we. So what was Ruth's request to Boaz?
Marriage. Ask me to marry you.
Verse 9 say.
Was paraphrasing, I'm sure.
You're actually jumping ahead.
Cover me with your garment.
Yeah, verse 9, you were jumping ahead, David.
Yes, you're right.
You're on the right track. Spread your cloak over your servant, for you are a near kinsman. What did this signify?
You need to do your duty and marry me.
Okay, it's actually she is proposing to him. She is actually asking him, by doing this, she is telling him, or asking him to marry her. What's the,
But this also means that the firstborn son will not be his son.
correct. We covered that.
But again, he may not know that he was the kinsman.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
It says
Yeah,
earlier.
we're gonna unpack that.
When he told her?
He knows,
Did
yeah,
he tell her?
yeah.
Okay.
When Naomi told Ruth that he was a kinsman.
Right, did he know?
Verse
I think he
12.
did.
Verse 12. Read verse 12.
So was this a leap year?
I don't know.
That we know of.
What?
So Lynn,
Ma'am.
Also
No, you,
think it,
women can ask me.
I think it also signified that she was doing things that were proper
Yeah.
according to the Jewish way.
Yeah.
She wasn't making, and he even commented, I think it's okay to talk about this because we did read it, that, you know, you didn't go to the younger ones who
Yeah.
are rich.
That
or,
comes up
you
in
know.
the next section, but yeah. Yeah, and she's going by the book,
Yeah.
and he fully understands what she's doing. So, what was the difference in, basically question number 6, and then question number 7? What was the difference in her lying at his feet, uncovering his feet, and then coming and telling him or asking him to then spread the cloak over her? What was the difference? There's 2 different things going on here.
Well, as the guardian redeemer, it's sort of his responsibility to take care of anyone in the family that's distressed.
Right, yeah,
And so I took it as lay your cloak over me is take care of me.
okay,
I'm coming to you in distress.
okay.
Probably not right.
Not quite what I was looking for.
Well, he had told her in his field to go, you know, may God give you refuge. And she's coming to him and saying, some of that responsibility for my refuge lies with you. And I think she's calling him on account. That's what Naomi was doing, was calling him on account. Part of this responsibility is yours.
Right, as a kinsman.
Or
Kinsman
maybe
guardian.
she's just letting him know, I'm interested, because otherwise he might not think she was.
Bingo, that's what I was looking for. And 6, where she's laying beside him and uncovering his feet, what she's doing is saying, I'm ready to get married. Then in question 7, when she asks him to spread the cloak over her, she's saying, will you marry me? In other words, she's getting specifics. Question number 6, and that act was saying, I'm ready to get married. And then when she asked him to cover her up in the cloak, she's saying, will you marry me? Talking to Boaz. So, was this a Sadie Hawkins moment for Ruth? Everybody know what Sadie Hawkins does?
No,
Okay. Do you young folks know what Sadie Hawkins is?
I don't.
Okay. Do what?
But,
Anyway, yeah.
but why didn't it wake him up when she laid down
He
there?
had too much to drink.
He'd had parties because the harvest was
And he
over.
was exhausted.
Yeah.
Well, it said he was in great spirits. I guess that could mean he'd been drinking. I don't know.
Well, we know,
Eating and drinking.
yeah, he had been eating and drinking. I don't know exactly what verse that is right now.
7.
Okay. Yeah, when Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, he went to lay down. So it's like after a Thanksgiving meal, you know, we all usually eat too much. So what do? We go flop down on the couch and fall asleep. So
Good time for a woman.
ball
to ask.
game is on, but we don't watch it.
It's a good time for a proposal.
Yeah. But basically Ruth is proposing to Boaz. So what did, question number 8, why did Boaz ask a blessing from God for Ruth?
Recognize her character and he wanted her to be rewarded for that.
Okay, verse 10, because Ruth had pursued Boaz and not a younger man, was 1. Ruth could have ignored Naomi's need and looked for a husband for herself outside of Naomi's relatives, but she was sticking inside the family. What did Boaz say he would do about Ruth's request?
We do all.
Verse 11, all that she asked. What obstacle prevented Boaz from immediately performing the part of a kinsman for Ruth?
Someone else had a closer place in line.
Yeah. If you remember, I think it was last week, we think that Boaz may have been a cousin to Ruth's husband, which means there was probably an uncle involved or someone.
I figured he was the nephew of the second son, not the nephew of the oldest son. And if give the oldest son.
yeah,
Then
yeah.
they give the oldest son would have
Yeah.
been first.
Right.
And
You go
he
in
was
pecking
either-
order of the generations, yeah. But,
So he was either the nephew of the second brother, or he was the second brother of the first.
right. Somehow he was very close to Elimelech,
Yeah.
which then put him next in line. Do we know who this is by name?
Not from this point.
No, we don't.
We
I don't
know
think
the
we
name.
ever
We never
find
know the
out.
name.
We really don't know who it was exactly. You're thinking, Marie, you're thinking
It's
out
later
loud.
when he's, yeah, the genealogy.
Yeah, you can trace it through the genealogy, which we'll talk about next week. Yeah.
Well, you can't trace that because she didn't marry
Yeah. Next week she
the other
does.
brother,
Oh,
the other person who was closer to kin.
Yeah,
That's right, it's through Boaz, it's not
Yeah.
through her.
we'll talk about genealogy next week. David, you have 13 through 18?
I believe so. Remain tonight, and in the morning, if he will redeem you, good, let him do it. But if he is not willing to redeem you, then, as the Lord lives, I will redeem you. Lie down until the morning. So she lay at his feet until the morning, but arose before one could recognize another. And he said, this is the English Standard Version, and he said, let it not be known that the woman came to the threshing floor. And he said, bring the garment you were wearing and hold it out. So she held it, and he measured out 6 measures of barley and put it on her. Then she went into the city. And when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, how did you fare, my daughter? Then she told her all the man had done for her, saying, these 6 measures of barley he gave to me. For he said to me, you must not go back empty-handed to your mother-in-law. She replied, wait, my daughter, until you learn how the matter turns out. For the man will not rest, but will settle the matter today.
Okay. So how was Boaz going to determine who would act as kinsman for Ruth? Verse 13.
there's a process.
Yeah, there's a pecking order.
He knew who it was.
Yeah,
He-
Boaz knew who
He
was
knew
next.
the law well enough. He
He
knew
knew
exactly who.
He knew who was next
It's
in
also
line.
his
Yeah,
Yeah, and they were probably all living close by.
they all get together every Thanksgiving.
Probably sooner, probably more often than that. Yeah,
And not only that, but they also helped each other in
Yeah.
the harvesting and things like that. So
yeah.
probably would have seen the.
This uncle or cousin, whoever it is, they probably worked together or at least worked in a field nearby or whatever. But what was Boaz saying?
One of us is going to do this.
Yeah, either the next of kin is going to do it or I'll do it, basically. So if the first guy didn't do it, then he was assuring her that he would take his place. And we actually really develop that next week, chapter 4. So why did Ruth leave the threshing floor early before anyone could recognize her?
One of these scandals.
Exactly, yeah. Because Boaz had already alluded to the fact that she was a good girl, or a good lady, proper. And like we talked about, like Marie mentioned, there is a Jewish traditional way of doing this, and they stuck pretty well to it. Was this important for her reputation or his reputation?
Yes.
All see again, all of the above. So, yeah, both of them. It protected both of them. What gift did Boaz give Ruth before she left the threshing floor?
Whole
Bunch of
ton of
barley.
barley.
Yeah,
How much?
it says six measures is what NIV says. Do we know how much that was?
No, but she had to be able to carry it, that's what.
Exactly, yeah. Some commentaries think it was about 30 kilograms, but they also say, like Marie, it was enough to be considered generous, but yet small enough for her to carry. So,
It was like a really nice, pretty diamond ring, but not so big as to be ostentatious.
Maybe not diamond, but ruby or emerald.
Oh, okay.
Well, to recognize that he was not required to give her anything. He was required to allow her to glean.
Yeah.
So he is going above
Yeah.
what was required in the law.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, what did Naomi ask Ruth when she returned? Verse 16.
How'd it go?
Yeah, how'd it go? She wanted to know how Boaz acted and what happened. So, verse 18, Naomi was sure that Boaz would resolve the issue by what time? By the end of the day.
She obviously knew him well enough to.
When he said he was going to do something,
Yeah.
he did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he didn't hang around or stick around and put it off. Any other comments, questions about 13 through 18?
Do you think that his eagerness to settle this could have been because he wanted to marry her and was anxious to marry her?
Yeah, I'm sure.
It was in chapter 2, he was expressing a lot of interest in her.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
asking about
He's
who she
already got-
was and where she was from. So
Yeah, he was asking her background,
He's got his eye.
who her dad was, her father was, if she was married. Yeah, so he's doing his due diligence, so to speak. So, as a conclusion, I've listed kind of 5 different areas based on the scripture. Like Ruth, we need to listen to instructions, obey, believe what your Redeemer says, receive his gifts, but we got to wait in patience. So, there's your sermon, Todd. So again, we're going to get allowed a little bit early. Not like Todd, not like some preachers will say this is only going to last 12 minutes and it goes 35.
Then gets practices.
Can get your timing down quite right. Any other comments, questions about chapter 3?
So for my benefit, can we go through their relation again?
Yeah,
I got confused.
you weren't here last week.
I wasn't here last week.
Yeah.
So,
And that's where we kind of broke that down. Ruth was married to one of Elimelech and Naomi's sons. And he died. And his brother died.
And his daddy died.
And his daddy died while they were in Moab. So Naomi decides to go back to Bethlehem. And you know the story. She tells Ruth and Orpah to go back to their family. Orpah does. Ruth says, no, I'm going, wherever you go, I'll go. And that's that famous verse that we talk about.
And Naomi was Elimelech's wife?
Naomi was Elimelech's wife.
Okay.
Yeah. And Ruth was married to their son, one of their sons. They had 2 sons,
So Ruth was the daughter.
daughter-in-law. Yeah.
So the relationship was Boaz was related to
Boaz was related to Elimelech.
Yeah.
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 Some sort of either, we think a cousin. We think Elimelech may have been Boaz's uncle, which made him a cousin to Ruth's husband, deceased husband. But this first kinsman, we think, may have been a brother to Elimelech, which would have made him,
He was
first in line.
yeah, he was next in line. But,
But he would have been older then, not younger.
yeah, he was older than Ruth.
But there are uncles,
No,
uncles and nephews that are close to the same
Oh,
age.
yeah, absolutely.
In our families, there are.
Yeah. My mom was the baby of 9 children. I've got a first cousin that's 4 years, she's dead now, that was only 4 years younger than my mom. Because she was the daughter of the first child. My mom was the baby. So, there's a big gap in their age.
What was the name for that? A kinsman redeemer? Kinsman?
Depends on the translation you look at. Some use kinsman, some use redeemer, and some use guardian. So there's three different words that mean the same thing or refer to the same thing. Good question. And of course, we're going to put it all together next week. They get married and have children, have a child, and
Don't tell us.
the rest is history.
No spoilers.
Probably everybody in here has heard this story at least once.
Why do you think that we don't do that today? You think it
Do what?
have kinsman redeemers? Where do you think that went away?
In Alabama, you can. Oh. Well, you can. In Alabama.
No, I just
first
wondered if
cousins
was that a law that God gave people, or was that?
Leviticus 25.
Yeah, it's part of the Levite law.
Leviticus 25.
So I just wondered what happened to that law. Did it just get nailed to the cross or
Well,
something?
the Bible went on, the word of God went on to the Gentiles who did not follow the Levitical law, because if you bind yourself to one part of the law, you bind yourself to all of the law. And we do not do that because Christ is the answer.
But he was the Lamb of God, right? Which we don't need a Lamb of God unless we've got the Old Testament. That's where we need the Lamb. So he was fulfillment of the law for Gentiles.
But to the Jews first and also.
But remember how Peter and
But I don't think
the apostles decided not to bind the Gentiles to the law, like circumcision.
Please
They're
cause
not-
adding diversity.
I mean, we kept the 10 Commandments, didn't we?
Nope,
We
no.
keep the Sabbath.
But
We
that's
don't have to do anything?
Yes and no.
not our law.
Our law is deeper than that.
We
No
talked
longer
about
do
that
you-
about 4 years ago, in deep detail.
All
Okay.
this is a little conversation on incest.
Yeah. I don't know, I can't answer your questions, I don't know. I'm completely-
It's a deep question. There is an answer. It's a deep answer.
Yeah, and I'm not prepared. I
And-
mean, I haven't studied
and
it
it
enough.
takes 16
You
years
know,
to answer.
Our culture no longer limits land to stay with the
Yeah.
family that originally owned it. We are free to sell all land and transfer back and forth as many times as we want. The Jews were not allowed to do that. The land must stay with that family.
So if you live in Israel today, would they still abide by that?
I don't
No,
know.
Israel's completely turned over. It was
Yeah.
completely,
All records were totally erased as to who
yeah,
originally belonged to the
in
land.
71 AD.
Yeah.
So it's no longer a Jewish custom either.
Correct.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And they might try to follow a semblance of it. I don't know that part.
I don't know. I'm not avoiding the question. I
According
just
to
don't know
the
the
movie,
answer.
they do follow a semblance of it.
The movie,
There is a movie about that.
modern movie?
Yeah. No, it came out about 12 AD.
Well, it could have been about Ruth,
I know.
No, not about Ruth,
a
about
modern Ruth.
I am.
a brother,
I am.
a brother died and the younger brother was not married and, according to Jewish custom, since he was unmarried, he was to marry the widow. And he thought, really, I don't want to marry somebody I don't even know, that's my brother. So then he fell in love with her and married her anyway.
To some degree, though, it just dawned on me or hit me, go back to your original question about why we don't have guards or guardians and
Kinsman Redeemer.
kinsmen and redeemers today. That's now a responsibility of the church to some degree. Take care of our own. You know. I mean, that doesn't completely answer your question.
Remember the widows and fatherless.
Right. And if a widow has family, that family's supposed to take care of them. But great comments, thanks. And next week, we'll kind of put it all together, and we'll get Boaz and Ruth together, and hopefully they'll live happily ever after when we get through with them. Y'all have a great week. Have a Merry Christmas. Be safe if you're traveling.
Merry Christmas.
And 5 minutes early. 5 minutes early.
My point was, that came from the Old Testament.